Hey, Emily.
Hey there.
I love your green, like the hair and the sweater and the plant. It all matches. I love the color.
Thank you. I'm all about color and pattern.
Me
I love
too.
your background and glasses.
Thank you so much. Well, welcome everyone to Founder Design Thinking. This is a really special episode, and I'll do a quick intro and then I'll let Emily introduce herself. So, I'm Jay Z. I think I'm going to rebrand to Call Me Jay Z. So, the Substack link will change, but for now, you can get more of these podcasts and AI synopsis at founderdesignThinking.substack.com. I am a designer turned product manager turned founder looking for a product management job in a AI video or creator economy startup as the first product manager, helping founders scale so that they can spend more of their time on partnerships and pitching. So I'll turn it over to you, Emily, for your introduction.
Thank you, Jay-Z. Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Teter. I am a product manager. I've been doing it for over, roughly 10 years. Historically was a web designer, front-end developer, and then pivoted into product management. And that is how I came to meet Phyl Terry. So let me give you a little background on Phyl and his Never Search Alone methodology and a little bit more about what I do. If that sounds good. So Phyl Terry, he's the author of Never Search Alone. They pioneered customer experience and product management in the early days of the internet. Phyl is the CEO of Creative Good, which put customer experience on the map. And even Marty Kagan was a client. So that's the big name in the product world, right?
Absolutely.
After the dot-com crash, Phyl started a private leadership community with product leaders from Google, Amazon, and other companies. And over the years, they had about 2,000 product leaders that participated along the way, and Phyl and their team has helped that same community when they left or lost their jobs. So out of all of that work over the years, Phyl began to develop this disruptive methodology of Never Search Alone, which is really disruptive because we are taught to just like mass apply to any job, get your resume out there. And one thing I want to note, it's important to think about iteration, is that Phyl iterated through 400 drafts of this book with more than 2,500 comments and about 1,000 early readers and users. So really leverage that product-led strategy to work through the book and this methodology. I am one of Phil's CG Product Council members, so I'm on an Associate Collaborative Gains Council. And through that, I got exposure to the book, which I loved. So when it came out in the fall of 2022, I was very eager to jump in and help build a global community of job seekers. So my main goal there is I lead the volunteer team, and then I oversee matching the job seekers into what we call job search councils, which is one of the first big ideas in Never Search Alone. And then I'm also super excited to say, since launching Never Search Alone in the job matching program, we've launched over 700 free job search councils for more than 3,500 people that have been laid off during the tech session. And those are usually product managers, but also general managers, CEOs, COOs, sales folks, etc. So the whole, if I can say it like in one statement, the whole radical idea Phyl had was to treat your career and job search like a product with a product-led mindset.
Awesome. And we have someone who's saying Marty Kagan's name does ring a bell. And, some of the luminaries in tech have definitely supported and been supported by Phyl along the way. So it's a really gold standard of product management, but also designing your own career. So for our listeners out there, please comment where you're dialing in from and any questions for Emily. Actually, Emily, do you know who's commenting this? Because I don't think I'm connected to them.
Seems like it's a generic. Yeah.
Okay, so this is great. This is exactly what marketing and growth acquisition is for. Since Emily already has like 3,000 people in this group, we're looking for more. We're gonna, 2x, 10x it because the tech session has impacted so many people. So Emily, I will ask you the first question. What are the main takeaways, since I do this podcast as my lead gen for my job search, and I haven't applied. Like, I don't apply for jobs until someone's like, I want you to apply for this job, right?
Mhm.
But a lot of people I talk to, they're like, oh, I'm so busy. Like, I'm applying to like 10 jobs a day. I don't have time to join a job search council or, like speak on a podcast. So tell us, the three main kind of differentiators or ideas and Never Search Alone.
For sure. So how you determine your product fit for a job that you love and around the Never Search Alone methodology revolves around three big ideas. So one is Never Search Alone, candidate market fit, and boss the process. So we'll start with Never Search Alone, and then I can pause to see if there's any other questions. So at the base of it, we are going to help you by matching to a free job search council of peer job seekers who meet regularly with you to help you guys find the jobs that you love. But why is that important, right? Because like to your point, you noted that we're all really busy, personally, professionally, job seeking on top of all of that. And it's important because anxiety, no matter what stage you are in your career, when you have to look for that job, you're going to feel insecure and anxious. Even CEOs or execs or board levels, they all have this type of anxiety. So when we look back historically, we think about this or like to reference this as AA for job seekers, in this sense that AA is so successful because it has that support group for recovery that gives you that group that's consistently engaged, holding you accountable. So if you start to take people who are insecure and fearful and put them together, it flips that anxiety and fear into hope, motivation, and accountability. It's really evolving around the power of asking for help. So Never Search Alone, we're going to get you into that group and grow that network. And an added benefit is once you get that network, it's often easier to get a job if you know somebody within that company, right? So instead of doing it alone and just blindly applying, we're helping you grow that community to get your foot in the door faster.
Awesome. Well, let's read some of the comments here. So, Pete, we know you, and I don't know why LinkedIn thinks we don't, but you're saying, wow, that's pretty amazing. Is that Phyl has seen so much in tech. I believe it was called Silicon Alley back then. And you're right. Like, I think there's Cerebral Alley and all of these new AI alleys in San Francisco right now. But when Phyl started it all, it was called Silicon Alley back then. I don't know if Emily, you have a comment.
Just that I know Phil been helping push, really the tech world forward. He's been really instrumental, or they've been really instrumental in their years of, setting up collaborative gain and helping other leaders. So I'm not at all surprised that he's continued to iterate and find this success in ways to help other people.
Great. And then Kieran Clark, dialing in from the UK, is asking, what are your thoughts on the forecasted 2024 regrowth as we are expecting to see?
Can I get more clarifying information about like what you mean by what regrowth we're expecting to see?
Yeah, so Karen, please, comment your clarification, but I've also heard that new investment rounds will be signed in December and be opening up jobs in January, and that budgets for, existing companies are projecting open headcount for Q1. So I think he might be thinking about that.
Got it. Yeah, I'm not a SME necessarily in that area. I know it's a really difficult hiring environment right now, and there seems to be a lot of instability, at least like microeconomics, and then just with people just being leery of like that lingering recession that we've not quite seen yet. So I think it's just important that you continue with a product-led mindset as you're doing a job search, because it's going to be continually iterative. Things are going to always change. You're going to have to constantly rethink about what it is that you want and what the market has available for you.
That's a good point. Like the candidate market fit, right? Like not just in
Mm-hmm.
your head thinking what you want, but knowing with data out there what the market wants from you.
Exactly. Can I go into candidate market fit as it's the second big topic?
Let me just read out Kieran's note and then we'll
Okay.
circle back to you. So Kieran is saying, here in the UK, we're forecasting a regrowth in the tech market for jobs in January. So Kieran, that's great. I know that the Emily's community is also, international, supports the UK heavily. So if there's any data, Kieran, or anyone that you've seen from like the consulting companies or just any data, please share in this comment as well. But yeah, Emily, go for it. Tell us about candidate market fit.
Great. Thank you. So, excuse me. As mentioned, the next thing we'll have you do in our second big idea is the candidate market fit. So we want you to do market research on yourself, how they see you, understanding your strengths and weaknesses, and you want to understand what it is that you want in your next job and if it lines up with what's out there in the market. This is another area where we're asking you to be like a bit disruptive because it's hard because we're asking you to really narrow down on what it is that you want versus, again, just mass applying to everywhere. And that's because we really believe that you are more likely to find a job you love if you really put in the effort into thinking about what it is that you want and what's available. And like I said, it's a product-led mindset that's also iterative. And with these ups and downs in the economy and the job growth and the hiring environment, right, you have to really start to think through, like, what are my absolute must-haves? What are some things I'm willing to bend on? And based off of my experience, is that job out there?
And so the process is not like being on your keyboard looking, right? Like the process is actually talking to subject matter experts, not like, doesn't have to be even people you know, just like influencers and experts who have the answer like immediately, like for sure, instead of guesswork. And so Jim from Portland, he's asking, my first thought upon layoffs was, do I stay in this industry and job type? Pretty okay in prior times, but I've been, I don't know what this word is, in multiple times in industries. His JSC, go Jim. Jim, your JSC starts next week, and I'm not sure how to approach candidate market fit. So, Emily, any advice there?
Yeah. Thanks, Jim, for the question. So, and congrats on your JSC starting next week. So I would think that, you'll go through the book and the exercises together. So you might get more color as you start to read the book and go through those agendas and those tools together as a council. And the candidate market fit is hard, but one of the exercises we have folks do is a listening tour where you reach out to folks within your network, other recruiters, and start to talk about, here's like what I've done historically in my professional career, or I'm looking to pivot to XYZ industry. And they can start to help really give you that real-time feedback around, all right, I hear you say this, but based off of your experience and what I'm seeing out there, this might be the role for you, or an industry or a role that you might be looking for. So it's taking some of the guesswork out and getting some of that feedback from SMEs that are in that day-to-day data, if that makes sense.
That's a great point, Emily. And Jim, if you have, more questions and follow-ups, please type them in.
And your counsel's there to help you, right? As you go through this, they're going to hold you accountable. So again, it's not just you as an individual doing this alone.
Yeah, I think the doing it together has been amazing. Like I don't know why I didn't know about this earlier in my career, and I so wish I had. And I'm so glad that I get to spread the word.
And JZ, you're in 1 or 2 job search councils, right?
Oh, I'm in like 3 now. So we're all in the networking phase, which is the very end phase. And so, on Monday, I'll get feedback like, I was going to rebrand to not that Jay-Z. And then on like Wednesday, my second job search council is like, well, you should rebrand to call me Jay-Z. I was like, that's it, It's really amazing to have so many exceptionally like qualified people give you straight feedback. I could not.
Yeah, and you're getting it faster, right? With that like real-time feedback than you would doing it on your own.
Yeah, I mean, having like other VPs of marketing product tell me like, just call me Jay-Z. Like, you're done. You already say that in every intro and every meeting we've been with you. So just do that. I don't think I would have ever gotten there on my own, or would have, like you said, took me a long, long time. So it is about that speed. And I know everyone out there, you're like, oh, but I don't have time. Well, it's about speed. It's not about slowing down. So to your point, Emily. All right, I'm going to read. I literally did not know how much job hunting has changed in 15 years. Seriously, networking, resumes. The fact that the SVP of mergers and acquisitions and a group product manager in my job search council are politely, your resume is totally broken. I literally cannot
yeah,
thank them enough.
I even think about me personally, like I use the best practices I learned when graduating college, right? Which was years ago. Because you don't have that guidance to say like, here are the new things unless you hire somebody, you know. And that's where Phyl and their strategy and their team wants to help, because we don't have those resources readily available to each other for each other, and we don't want to have to charge for it, right? We think this is something that everyone should be able to have at no cost.
Yeah, and whoever said, self-admittedly that your resume is totally broken, can you comment in how long it took you to get that feedback and make changes to your resume? Because I'm going to assume that it was much shorter than you getting rejected from jobs and then changing your resume like a year later. So if you can just comment in some data about how long. We have a lot more comments, Emily. So should I read through them, or do you want to go on to your third point before we read through the comments?
I would like to touch on one person that asked about, from the experience with NSA, are there any themes, tips, concepts that you feel people take a while to understand? And yeah, I think at the very basic level, we're asking you to slow down. And that's going to increase your anxiety on top of the anxiety that you're already having from job searching, especially if you're laid off and not full-time employed, but slowly looking, right? Because there's a lot of outside pressure, whether it's from your partner or yourself, or you need to get a job right away to get, finances, right? So we understand that we're asking you to slow down, and that's going to produce anxiety, but trust the process. This is new and disruptive, and it's going against everything you were taught, right? And then I think the second one is you get out of it what you put in. We do our best to vet everyone that applies to be matched to a JSC, but it's up to the individual to be accountable, to attend their JSC's meetings regularly, to consistently communicate and engage, and to be humble. That's hard, right? We don't like, as humans, to ask for help. That also produces anxiety, but the more you ask for help, the more humble you are, and you get that in return from your counsels. It's just invaluable on the type of input and advice that you're going to get to help formulate your next job search and your next role.
Yeah, so anyone in the chat, comment why it was easier or hard to slow down, because I know for a lot of people, they go through this experience of applying frantically, and then month 6 hits and they don't get any interviews, and then they start the JSC. So I think Emily's trying to reverse that, where you start with the JSC instead of like burning through your morale and your cash. So
yeah, use that energy in a different way.
Okay. Well, Emily, you want to read some more comments or talk about your point 3?
Yeah, we can, excuse me, go to the third big idea, and then I'm happy to answer more questions. So our third idea is bossing the process. So most companies don't know the job that they're hiring for, especially not directly the hiring manager, but like, the HR rep, uploading those job descriptions, right? They don't really know what they're hiring for, and they don't often know the success metrics. So with the Never Search Alone methodology, you start to create what you think your job is and the OKRs, or success metrics, are that you're signing up for. You want to really make sure you understand that, and that you get their agreement on that, right? You want to go in an alignment if you're going to accept this job. Not only will this impress managers, it helps get you into final interviews. Then you can show it to the hiring manager if you get close to the final interviews. It's going to blow them away. And I'll say personally, like, although I'm not a job seeker, I've used this type of strategy when internal opportunities have come up. And it's really, even if I hadn't shown to the managers presenting the opportunity for them, or I didn't show it to them, it helped me internally just think through, like, do I want to do this? Is this in line with my long-term or short-term career goals? Do I think I will be set up to succeed? And if not, then I'm going to politely turn it down, right? But I wouldn't have probably gotten there with that information had I not gone through the process. And then finally, another part of the process is it's not just about the offer, it's about setting yourself up to succeed in the job. It allows you to negotiate for what we refer to as the four legs of the stool. So yes, you always want to negotiate for salary, but that's not the only thing. You want to make sure you negotiate for the support, the budget, the resources you need to be successful in your new role and or team. Because this is where you're going to have the most bargaining power, right? When you're looking to potentially get hired on in a new role.
Yeah, so I think this is really helpful in this economy where the moment a job is posted, there's like 1,000 applicants, right? Like, and so when you're talking to an executive who's contemplating opening up a position, then you get to write this document and help them define it. Craft it. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's more fulfilling, right? Than just like being told, here's what you're going to do. You want to like feel like you have some ownership of what you do for like 40 plus hours a week, right? It's a big chunk of our lives.
Yeah, and it saves them so much time. Like, I didn't know if I wanted it to be like X or Y or Z, and you're kind of like X and Y, so we're going to make it for you, right? And so it's really saving them a lot of time. But you also mentioned that it helps you clarify, like, maybe I don't want to go through with this, or, can you talk a little bit more about those C-level examples that where you're like, I don't have enough budget to turn this company around. Like, I'm not going to do this. Or do you have any examples to share?
I don't have any examples from like a budget perspective. Again, if I go back to my own personal experience with leveraging like an OKR document, it really allowed me to say, here's what I'm hearing you want. Here's what I think we need to succeed. I don't know if we have all of this yet to make me feel comfortable with pivoting from my current career goal, which is product management and growing that that skill set, right? So if we think we can get more of the funding or get this more solidified, let's talk again in 6 months, for an example. But it just allowed me, I'm a very data-driven person, so it just allowed me to weigh the pros and cons and kind of stick with my gut that, I'm gonna stick with what my current path is right now.
Why do you think people who post jobs are able to get the headcount but not really know what they're looking for? That always baffles me.
I would say, just from my historical experience as a team leader and manager with direct reports, sometimes I think it's around just getting the buzzwords in. Sometimes I think it's around you have to work with your own internal HR and hiring teams, and like their process, their templates don't always allow for being as forward's not the right word, but there's some limitations I think to the process and templates that in their rounds of approvals it takes to get a job document, a job description updated sometimes, especially at larger companies, can probably prohibit you getting your best job description out there. And to be honest, like you're working with what you know, and somebody coming in that you're interviewing, they might have another point of view or perspective that might just naturally, organically change a bit around that job description and the expectations.
Awesome. Well, we have lots of questions here. Let's see. Any you want to answer, Emily?
Excuse me, just scanning. I know one person said they took about 5 weeks in their JSC and they just celebrated their meeting 11 and progress is being made. That's great. And I think that's a good reminder that let's see, I think we asked that JSCs attend at least, or all the members of a JSC attend their first 10 meetings. So the way we set up job search councils is on a variety of different criteria, but one is which if you're a fast seeker, which is typically unemployed, and they want to look to meet weekly, and then slow seekers who are typically full-time employed, folks that just want to start that job search process. We ask those councils to meet every other week. So that's roughly like 20 weeks, if you will, but you're still meeting 10 times. And depending on your role, you might, everybody, fingers crossed, right? At the end of those 10 meetings, everyone in that council is going to get a new role. But we also are aware that depending on your seniority, the hiring environment, it could take longer than 10 meetings. So I don't want to be, rainbows and saying like by 10 weeks, you're going to get a brand new job. It really depends because the hiring process can be pretty lengthy, especially for more C-level executive folks out there. And then I was going to say one more thing around that, but I kind of lost it. Sorry. But yeah, I would say like it's iterative. You'll get to your meeting 10, meeting 11, and there might be members that still haven't found a job, and that's okay. It's not a failure if you get to meeting 10 or 11 and you don't have it yet. It's all part of the process. And sometimes it means you have to go back and rethink your candidate market fit. Maybe with the hiring environment, what you really must have isn't out there. Are you willing to concede on a few things to help you get that role? Do you need to take a more lateral role to get that experience if you want to change industries or careers? There's some things you have to really think about to help move your job searching forward. And then I'll also just say, if you reach your meeting 10 or meeting 11, we have JSCs that continue on continuously for as long as they need to as a team or as a council. I also help to replace members into new councils as members start to get jobs and need to drop off as their capacity shifts. So the network is there for you, regardless of whether you got a job still searching at meeting 1, meeting 10, meeting 15.
Yeah, so I've launched AI products, and not a lot of people have, but I coach a lot of people who are getting into AI because that's where all the new jobs are. And so I would encourage anyone who has a non-AI job to play with a piece of AI that would help speed up anything that you do in your job. So Kieran is a recruiter in the UK, and he's saying, I mainly recruit within the AI industry, and the Office for National Statistics is indicating that we are due to grow next year. And that's, very special to AI. But I think, Emily, to your point where I want to connect this is that everyone can use AI in their job search and prove that in their job, they would be able to use AI. So that's where the must-haves and the nice-to-haves kind of mix, right? So maybe you must have AI in your job, and that will help open a whole new pool of openings. I don't know if that's what you were referring to.
Yeah, I think that definitely can be one. It's like your values, what are your must-have, if that's one of the areas you're interested in getting skill set in or using in your day-to-day job. Or even it's down to if you're like entry level, but you're really interested in learning more and how you can apply it to your current job or future. Perhaps that's part of your negotiation is, I want funding to be able to get resources, mentorship or conferences or whatever, so I can continue to build this knowledge and see how we can apply it to your current job, future job, whatever. Absolutely. And I'll say, we're even thinking about how to apply AI to the whole Never Search Alone methodology, especially for the volunteer team. How can we, in the future, apply it to help making matching more seamless, quicker? So it'll always have a slight human touch to it, but seeing how that can help us improve our process as well. It's exciting.
Oh, well, let's talk about the iterations, right? So I know Pete, Kieran, and I are all into AI, and perhaps some of the other listeners. So in terms of continuous improvement in the product process, what's the most painful part of the process, or what kind of AI are you looking at?
Yeah, I can't really answer on the AI. That is something Phyl is looking into. But what I do love is, as Phyl is big into the product-led mindset, that they apply that mindset through this Never Search Alone product. So I really love seeing that. So we're constantly observing the performance data of our community. reviewing member feedback, looking at ways to streamline the JSC experience and how we can make it easier, not only for the volunteer team to match JSCs, example, like potentially using AI for that, but looking to expand the value and benefit for a Never Search Alone community. I would say one of the hardest things, but like we're dealing with humans, right? And anxiety and all of that can create some non-responsiveness. So an interesting pivot that we made after kicking this off, seeing the data, seeing how things were going, was, and this seems like a bit of a perplexing concept, right? Since launching this in 2022, we actually added positive friction to our process, which means we made the application process harder to fill out. And that's because this is a free program. And while we want everyone to be a part of this, but we also want to filter out anyone that's not serious. Because the job search council is only successful it's only as successful if their fellow job seekers and members are as committed and they're engaged and consistently engaging. If you don't get that and people are just attending meetings one and done, or every so often, or just ghosting, then like you're not only slowing down your job search, you're slowing down your other fellow members' job search.
Adding friction.
Positive friction.
Positive friction. So that's really interesting because AI is all about removing friction.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of what you mentioned about, after people get a job or they, start to be less active in their group, you're trying to match groups to each other who are looking to merge. Is that one of the pain points?
Yes and no. So we can sometimes see people apply to be matched, and then when it comes time to confirm, like a moderator, so we ask a job seeker in each job search council to volunteer as a moderator, because these are all self-run, right? The volunteer team is helping match you all based off of a variety of criteria, which I can briefly go over, which is if you're a fast or slow seeker, so unemployed or unemployed, country of like where you work. We try to keep time zone in mind, but that's fully dependent on our applicant pipeline. And then we want to keep the JSCs diverse in terms of gender, in terms of industry. So we take all of this and we want to match JSCs based off of that criteria. But then we need to have someone volunteer to be the leader to help drive this JSC forward. And sometimes that can take a while to get responsiveness out of people, because I'm sure people are interviewing. I'm sure even around this time of the year, it's the holidays, right? End of year, things get really busy. So if we can't get a hold of people, they're not nearly as serious about it, then that just slows down the process for everybody. So we're just trying to make sure we're giving you all the information you need to say, like, yes, I realistically think I can do this. Because we'll tell you again and again, it's going to take roughly 60 to 80 hours of work before you start interviewing. And again, we know it's disruptive. We're asking you to slow down. We're asking you to like really think through what it is that you want and what is out there. And so we want to make sure people are committed to that, because again, we're helping you with your job search, but you're also helping others within your council. We don't want to let anybody down.
I see. So you're saying the pain point is actually in the beginning, the commitment, right? Where people don't want to slow down and they make a lukewarm commitment, and then they're not really there for everyone else in their group. So you want to create that friction using AI in the beginning of the commitment.
Yes. And I'm sure there's also an opportunity for merging JSCs as well. We haven't had the opportunity to really think through iteration opportunities for that phase of this, as well as more tenured JSCs that have been around for a long time since launching this, and they're still job searchers. Our first area of focus was around that like onboarding area.
Well, as a product manager, I want to like immediately like get into the problem space and brainstorm solutions. But what would be most helpful actually for you?
In terms of what?
In terms of that friction in the beginning, do you feel like the problem space is understood and you're looking for solutions, or is Phyl still at that stage where he's trying to understand that commitment problem?
Yeah. I think there's always ongoing opportunity. We've often gone back and forth because we create this. This is a free service that we're providing, right? We've thought about, do we want to charge for this? But then there's a whole other set of complications that come with charging for it. And at the end of the day, the goal is not to necessarily like make money off of this. Yes, we need to have some sort of funds to eventually like continue to grow this, but because I bring that up because we thought perhaps by having some sort of charge that would bring more serious folks to it. I think it's a new concept, right? It's disruptive. So the more people we can get going through this and seeing the benefit of it and sharing that, and you're getting that social awareness around it, that maybe can help reduce the risk of people being really hesitant around committing to it, even though they signed up for it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities still. Like I wouldn't say we found one golden ticket to help improve that, but I would say what we've done so far has helped better than not doing anything, if that makes sense.
Can you just summarize the last point?
I think the iterations that we've done has certainly been helpful, but I don't think that's all the iterations that can be done to help optimize the onboarding process.
Did you say that with getting more people in to the top of the funnel in terms of product-led growth, then there are just more people who might stay? Is that what you meant?
Oh, I was saying like the more folks we can get to go through the process and see the benefit of it and hopefully succeed in getting that job, that they can spread the word about how this process has helped them. So the more social awareness is not the right word I'm looking for, like more reviews, if you will, that we can get around how this methodology works. Hopefully that will make people a little bit less anxious around slowing down and signing up and going through and dedicating their time to this process.
I see. So you're saying people sign up and then they freak out that they're going so slow. And if they have someone that was successful through this process, or just someone else who can vouch for this process, then they're okay with continuing to slow down and stick with it.
Yes. Yeah. They need those success stories, right? We're still building those success stories because we're only a year in from setting up this community, right? So we're starting to build up the success stories, and even the LinkedIn live events that Phyl has every other Friday that brings in folks that have found a job through the Never Such a Loan process, or JSCs that are in progress, is helping build that story around how it's been helpful and hopefully reduce some of that anxiety.
Okay, so I'm going to put up Jim's question. I started applying to a few things that rang a bell, wondering if it's better to fully pause or go with full tilt. So that's probably the first anxiety that people have.
I mean, there's not a clear black and white answer to that because everyone's situation is so unique. I do understand that the financial pressures, you might not have the time to 100% pause and put the brake on your job search. So I think what we recommend is first read the book so you can understand like all the things you should be considering, but then also make sure at the very least you're going through that OKR document, the process, if you need to continue to interview. And then always leverage your counsel. So let your counsel know that, hey, I still have to interview. I have one coming up. Here's what my OKR document looks like. Here's what I'm hearing from the interview. What are you guys thinking? What feedback can you give me? Let them help be your support group and hold you accountable. Because it's not realistic to think that everyone in a job search council is going to be on the same exact path for the next 10 weeks, for example. Life doesn't allow that. So you're all going to kind of ebb and flow and be kind of different states. We should all be there to help support one another and then leverage the book and the exercises and the best practices where it makes sense in your job search.
Awesome.
Hopefully that helped, Jim.
Thanks, Jim, for continuing to ask the questions. And I'm going to show Heidi's question, which kind of goes back to the other point of creating that friction. I wonder if people who complete the program could volunteer to interview prospective participants, asking some questions of applicants and sharing information about their experience. Would that help with retention, at least for the first few sessions?
I love that idea. And whether it's like real-time one-on-one interviews or if there's a way to create like a video library or composition of case studies, if you will. I know we try to encourage everyone to attend what we call a JSC orientation before they get matched. Excuse me, so they can understand really what's needed to be a part of a JSC. But I think that could be a great build on to getting, because I don't think in those orientations, to be honest, we get tenured folks that have been through the process. It's Phyl or somebody else from our volunteer team leading those orientation discussions, and it's usually brand new applicants or members that just started their JSC attending. So I think that could be a great build on for the orientation and or just to have as a resource in general for people. Thanks, Heidi.
Yeah. Thanks, Heidi. And I think, Heidi, you're defining the problem as like mistrust of the disruption of doing something new. And so doing that with other mistrustful newbies is not going to help you. But I think, Heidi, you're saying doing that with a seasoned veteran who's more importantly been successful is much more valuable. And so if we define the solution, I mean, the problem is like gaining trust, then Heidi, this is one of the many solutions.
Yeah, we've done that for the moderators to an extent. Like we have a recurring moderator call where I think we have someone that was a moderator or still is a moderator leading it. So like you get that real-time advice, right? Even people will ask me sometimes moderating best practices, and I'll do my best to answer, but in all honesty, I've not moderated a JSC. So getting that feedback in real time for someone that's gone through it, I think is really valuable. And I could see how that would be really helpful for JSC members that aren't moderators as well.
Yeah. Got it. The people who are like not sure, might drop off or.
Yeah.
I see. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'll probably put one last question up unless you have one that you want to answer, Emily.
Let me scan here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'll just know someone mentioned there's folks on Slack that can help accelerate OKRs and such. I don't know if this user is referring to our Never Search Alone Slack community, but I'll just use it as a plug. So as you get assigned to a JSC and join the JSC and it gets kicked off, we have a Slack community that we invite everyone to go to. So you'll have your own private channel for your JSC. We want to make the job search process anonymous and secure to the best of our ability. But you'll also have the whole entire Slack community of everyone that's joined this community since launching in fall of 2022 that you can reach out to and get networking opportunities, other feedback outside of your JSC if it's needed. And we don't revoke that. Even, excuse me, if you roll off or step away from your JSC or you get a new job, we allow you to have access to that network unless you specifically request to be removed. So it's lifelong.
Yeah, so someone was asking that if they could continue to stay on their Slack. So that's what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And you're allowed to stay on your job search council as well once you get a job. It's all about if you have the capacity to support yourself and your council. I know starting a new job can take up a lot of time too. So sometimes that's easier said than done.
Okay. And then I know Karen had to leave, but I had a question about partnerships. Like do you partner with recruiters or human resources departments who want to start the same?
Yeah, I think that's, again, thinking through like our agile iterative process, I think that's another area of opportunity for us. I don't know what all has been done yet. I think Phil's been trying to lead this a bit, but we do recognize that there's an opportunity to make it easier for job seekers to get a hold of recruiters, to make like the listening tours a lot easier and efficient to get done. So I think that's an opportunity, and we do have recruiters out there, especially in our Slack network. So I think that's something we could always do a request for help on Slack for.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I think we're coming to a close. There were a lot more questions that we didn't get to. So, Emily, what's the best way for people to get their answers?
Yeah, so you're welcome to reach out to me personally if you want at emily@collaborativagain.com. Otherwise, Phyl.org will have all the resources and information around what the Never Search Alone methodology is, what a job search council is. You can apply there to be matched to a job search council and learn more about the volunteer team as well.
Phyl.org.
Phyl.org has everything.
Well, I'll give a last plug for founderdesignThinking.substack.com. That is my thought leadership and job search vehicle. So if anyone wants to infuse their job search or their career advancement with AI, happy to do some free coaching and help everyone get jump started in this new year. I think we're going to end on that. Well, Emily, thank you. Thank you for your tireless effort and volunteer time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is great. Appreciate the time.
This was so fun. Thank you for everyone who commented, and I wish everyone happy holidays.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Emily, you can stay on for a minute, but I'm going to end the live stream.
Sure thing.